And now it's time for our knockout round. Well, not surprisingly, after the episode in South Carolina, where a young African-American female student was dragged out of her chair by a cop, all those other examples of kids acting out in school that were either tasered or removed, kids bullying teachers, 325-pound high school boys knocking down 66-year-old teachers. Predictably, Secretary of Education Arne Duncan comes out. A few days following the incident in South Carolina, he said, quote, "This week we've been forced again to confront how far we still have to go in the struggle for true equality." Well, of course, Arne plays the race card. We're forced to confront how far we have to go in the struggle for equality. If we want to maintain the trust of parents and communities in our schools, we must start treating our children with respect and dignity. Well, the way I always learned it is that you get what you deserve. Right? That children earn respect. It's not afforded to them. And if children are disrespecting their elders, children are disrespecting their fellow students, if children are disrespecting their teachers, if children can look cops in the eyes and sneer and ignore their orders, then we don't have any discipline, then we don't have any equality, then we don't have any justice. And I guarantee you, the vast majority of American parents, black, white, Hispanic, or otherwise not named Arne Duncan, recognize the need that without a basic tenet of respect, without discipline, there can be no learning in classrooms. Arne Duncan demonstrated for his 7 years at the Department of Education, he was much more interested in social justice than he was in education. He was not interested in improving American schools. He was very interested, however, in sociologically engineering the way the schools were run, how they were tested, who was in control of those schools. Typical liberal power broker, completely off base when it comes to solutions. Speaking of typical loony liberal power brokers, take a look at this Fox face-off between a host and famous radical activist Quanell X. Take a listen to this.
Now, I do agree the cop went too far, but I don't think he should have lost his job over it. I think it's high time we start addressing the root causes of all this, the disrespect of teachers, this Black Lives Matter movement, this perpetual chip on your shoulder against everybody that's not like yourself. It's got to stop. We've got to address the culture.
Let's deal with the culture of these crazy fanatic white boys who go in schools with guns and shoot and kill everybody. Let me finish.
I'm gonna
Hold on, wait a minute. Columbine, killing the kids at the elementary school, the shootings in other cities across America have all been crazy little white boys shooting up innocent people. So let's study that culture.
Okay, Mr. Quanell, Mr. X, you're trying to suggest to us that all these high school shootings have not been looked at, that we have not spent any time at all deconstructing crazy little white boys, if we want to get all racial on this, that we've spent no time as a culture deconstructing these issues. Have you not been paying attention, Mr. X? Gun control, radical gun control initiatives coming from the White House, all because kids are shooting up high schools. All this stuff, all these cultural things that are beginning to happen now in the wake of these shootings. You have all of the invention of the term white privilege is in some respects a mark, a reaction against these shootings. We have hyper-analyzed these crazy little white kids. But if you want to play that game, Mr. X, when the host asks you about why so many of these kids who are reacting this way, who are bullying teachers, knocking them down, threatening them with elevated chairs, why so many of those kids happen to be African American, your response is, let's look at the crazy white boy. Well, let's play that game then, Mr. X. Because the vast majority of black violence against black people, is perpetrated by other blacks. By your very argument, if that's what we need to be looking at, given that when you step outside the schools and look at the broader incidences of black violence, most of it is perpetrated by other black people. Should we be examining that culture? I will do you the service, Mr. Quanell X. I will not call that crazy black culture, because I'm not racist and you're not going to accuse me of it. I couldn't get away with the nonsense you get away with. Try being intellectually consistent from time to time. It makes a big difference. But then again, maybe you would have had to learn that in the schools, and the kind of schools you're modeling for us, Quanell, they're never going to get you there. And that's our knockout.
Don't miss a second of Dr. Do. Visit FreedomProject.com and sign up for our free newsletter. Like us on Facebook or follow us in the Twitterverse. All the links can be found at FreedomProject.com.